if you understand how agriculture works, or how the farming, FARMING, how it works, how a farmer actually grows his or her crops, then you will know that there is a cycle that these people actually operate with. And that cycle is very pertinent, it's very important, and at the same time, it's very crucial. And not following this cycle of planting or of growing these particular crops essentially will limit your chances of the good harvest or fruitful harvest that you actually arrive at as a farmer. Now, this concept that we're going to be discussing here today is not just about, farmers. It's about you as a person, it's about you as an individual, as a human. Whether you like it or not, your life has phases. And irrespective of the phase that you are, no matter how long you stay here on this earth, you are expected to depart from this earth on a particular day. Some might stay very long, some might be average, some might not stay for that long, just depending on how the course of their departure, how it actually happens. And also, it also be determined by how long God or their creator wants them to stay. So that being said, let's now look at the topic that we have at hand, talking about sowing early in life. When we say sowing early, we're going to be looking at the life of the farmer. Now, as a farmer, when you sow early, it therefore means that you stand a chance early. For every crop that you grow as a farmer, there is a season that is expected for you to actually plant that particular crop. And if you start planting it earlier in its particular season, you are expected to arrive at a good harvest during the harvest season. But unfortunately, if you do not plant early or you do not sow early, then it's also going to limit your possibilities and your chances of reaping when others are expected to when you are expected to reap. Because each farming season has a unique characteristics that is associated with it. And some of those characteristics that are associated with it is that some crops, they need a lot of water to grow. Others need a lot of sun for them to produce optimal results. While another third category will need a mixture of good sunlight, average rain or average water rather. You might be able, maybe for the ones that require adequate sunlight for them to grow well, you might be able to, and also requires water, you might be able to provide the water by artificial irrigation. Maybe if you are not relying on rainfall, you might be able to provide a particular water that can actually help the crop. How about the sunlight? You might not be able to provide that particular sunlight that particular crop actually needs. So hence the need why you must actually follow the calendar, the natural calendar that nature has given to these crops, or this family of crops, or this group of crops. This also means that if you are a human, whatever thing you came to earth and you are enjoying today, there is somebody that actually laid the foundation, or that put it in place, and it makes you to be enjoying it at the moment. For instance, you can see what I'm recording, that my lights, I have a very minimal light that is currently on the ceiling, and it's quite dull. So that's what I'm actually using to record. Now, if I switch over to another external source, let me switch. So you see my ring light now that is now on at the moment. It was somebody who actually gave a technological design from us using only what? Only from us using only this that we had before to now using this that we now have at the moment. I have another light by the side, but I'm not going to switch to that particular one. What am I trying to say? That, prior to now, making videos, you have to spend a lot of money on expensive lights and the rest of them before you can actually get a good lighting system that, can actually give you a good light for your video recording. However, if we move forward or if we proceed further, you can now understand that, you being here on earth, whatever thing that you also do will also determine those that will come after you, if they are going to enjoy or they are not going to enjoy. You understand? So let's continue with what we're saying. Before I actually used the issue of the ring light as an explanation of the concept that I'm actually talking about the concept of sowing. So there is a time for you to sow. And if you do not sow in that particular time, you do not stand a chance to reap when others that did sow during that particular time are actually reaping, or when they are getting their harvest. It's like the farmer who did not sow when it's a planting season. He doesn't stand a chance to reap during the harvest season. Maybe he might say, the rain is too much. Maybe there is cold. The sun is too much. I'm sick. I don't have time. I don't have chance. So all kind of stuff like that. So based on such, this particular farmer did not sow. And based on the fact that he did not sow, he's not going to stand a chance when others actually reaping or when they are harvesting. However, the only chance that maybe he stands to actually to gain is maybe if he goes to steal from the farm of those farmers that actually planted when he was supposed to plant. And guess what? If he's caught, you know what the consequence is. So ordinarily, he does not stand a chance when others actually reaping from or they're harvesting the fruit of their labor. You understand? So moving forward, it is not everything that that you planted that you are going to reap from. And it's not because somebody is going to anything is going to kill those crops. It's just because of the lifespan of those particular crops. For instance, I give you a clear example. A crop like tomato is a typical example of a crop that, when you plant it, it takes within 3 to 4 months, it starts producing. It produces like that maybe till about 4 or 5 months. Then each season of production, its lifespan or its life cycle has ended and it withers off. A plant like corn also falls in that category. Then a crop like cassava, from 6 months it has started producing, then you harvest it and that particular one is gone. Why? Because that's the lifespan that it has. So what you just need to do when you plant such kind of crop is just, it needs a very, it needs few nurturing for it to start producing. Then if we now go further to maybe a crop like cotton, I think crop like cotton also have a fewer years before it starts producing. Then let's go forward. Let's go to a crop like oil palm, coconut, cocoa. Discover that these three crops that I just mentioned now, it will take you a minimum of 5 years before this crop will start producing. And it vary by variety as well as the soil viability. In some cases, it might go beyond that. But do you know the beauty of it? When they start producing, when these crops that I mentioned now start producing, they are going to produce for the next 10 years, next 15 years, next 20 years, next 30 years, even next 40 years, next 50 years. The same thing is applicable to you as a human. If you start sowing now, depending on the kind of seeds that you are sowing, some will give you some seeds. Depending on their viability and their lifespan, they will give you almost instant gratification. While some will give you a future gratification. That means you will need to nurture these seeds. A relationship is a good example. There are some relationships that, for them to produce result for you now, for them to produce result, good result, you have to nurture those relationships, have to nurture them, meaning that as you are growing, the relationship is growing. You have to nurture them, and maybe it will take like next 5 years, next 10 years, next 20 years before those relationships can start giving you qualitative result, if it must give you result at all. You planted, yes. You nurtured, yes. But look at the time it will take for them to actually start giving you result. But how earlier you actually planted such a relationship matters a lot. You understand? So how early you actually planted such a relationship actually matters a lot. So for you to actually have such kind of relationship that will produce a very wonderful result, it means that the earlier you made such relationship, the earlier you made such connections, the better it would have been for you. And let me also go further. Let me now go to the bad side or the disadvantages associated with planting now. Remember that when you plant such seeds or when you plant such crops, you have 2 things to contend with. Or let me say 3. Number 1, you have weeds to contend with. Weeds will come to your garden to ensure that, they outrun your garden. So it therefore means that after you've planted, you have to checkmate your garden to continually remove weeds from it. If we talk about this light that, I just switched to now, not long ago now, you discover that when the first technology of ring light were introduced, they were not as good as this. Maybe a lot of criticism came. But you know what? Those who invented it, they were not sleeping. They went back to the laboratory. They started making research, started doing all kind of tests and the rest of them, that to the extent that, they cannot even have a various lighting mode for ring light.